Hello, welcome to another live Q&A. This is the first Patreon-only live Q&A, and I just got back from Essen a few days ago, so I'm here to answer some questions. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. Let's see if anyone is here. Oh, I can hear myself. First Patreon. Let's turn that off. Okay. The quality is terrible. Okay, so I'm going to kick things off by there were some questions that a few people asked on the Patreon page. So Tristan, who I met at the meetup, is asking, did I try Dragon Castle on Sunday? If so, how did you like it? Unfortunately, I didn't try Dragon Castle on Sunday. I probably should have done. I was regretting that really because it sold out. And then I think it was you that told me that it was from the designer of Photosynthesis, which is obviously another game that I'm excited about. And so, yeah, I was a bit stupid on that front because I'd watched it being played in Motel 1. I'd watched Efka and Elaine and John and Tiffany playing the game, but I hadn't really got a feel for it because I was sort of distracted, not really paying attention. Obviously looks really nice. Those Mahjong pieces are really appealing, but I never actually played that Mahjong solitaire game that people talk about. So I had no idea if I would really like it. But it seems to have got a lot of buzz. And then I was talking to Tom Vassell, he really liked it. So yeah, I didn't try it, but I should have done basically. Okay. Don't think anyone's in. So if nobody is in, then I might go live, but I've got a few more questions to answer. So Jamie is asking, well, he said the meetup was great fun. Are you considered doing another similar meetup at UK Games Expo? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably should have done one this year, really. But yeah, the meetup went really well, and I was really pleased with it. And so, yeah, I think so. I don't know whether UK Games Expos, I feel a little trickier because you've got the hotel where there's sort of limited space, and so that's really reserved for Dice Tower and Shut Up and Sit Down and like the big people. And I don't think UK Games Expo have really taken notice of me or no pun included yet. But maybe if we band together, or if we hassle them, or maybe as we're getting bigger, that'll be a thing. We could do it at another hotel, but then people have to sort of leave the main space and then come back for gaming later. And I just feel like that isn't ideal. But yeah, I think it's just sort of a lack of organization, and then it didn't happen this year. So yeah, I reckon we'll get something going next year. I'm really excited for Games Expo. So yeah, I will say yes. Okay, Christopher is asking, which game was left behind? I hope you get it back somehow. Yeah, I said it was a game just to simplify things. It's actually the Vegas playmat for Wits and Wages, and North Star Games had been really kind, and they had brought it over for me, I believe, in their personal luggage, and but I was so excited about it, and I can't believe that I left it behind. I'm absolutely gutted, but I think it's all okay. I think that there's a very kind man called Marcus who's going to pick it up for me, and so yeah, so that will solve everything. But yeah, I'm just because I've been really hoping to get a copy of it, and they had sort of pulled out the stops to get it to me, so it just makes it so much worse than any other game. But because it was in like a poster tube, and I even looked at it at one point and said, I know I'm going to forget that, and then I did forget it, and I just hate myself. So and the hotel that I was in were trying to charge me 51 euros to send it to the UK. It costs about 15 euros to send it to the UK, so they were obviously just trying to make a profit off of it. So yeah, I'm trying to find a better way to do that because that's just crazy money. So that's what that was. And then I've got a question on email. If you could commission a game from your favorite designers, who would you choose to do it? And what game/theme would you ask them to make a game around? And so this is from my friend Phil. And so the reason I've been thinking about this one. It's a really good question. I think that there's a few things that I would want. I don't know if I can ask for more than one. One is I've always wanted a board game based around The Wire, and so yeah, sorry. I've always wanted a board game around the TV show The Wire and having the different factions. So you've got different drug dealing factions, and you've got the police, and maybe you've got Omar as a separate thing. And so it's all asymmetrical, and sometimes you've got to work together and sometimes you don't. And I don't know how it would work. I'm not going to design it, but I think the right people for that would be Gale Force 9. And so, yeah, I think because they were really good at Spartacus, and they were really good at making Sons of Anarchy. Like, they're really good at thematic games with sort of negotiation and combat, and I just really, really like those games. I think that's the kind of game it needs to be, like a spectacle type game. So yeah, so I think that, and then also I really want like a really good medical themed game, but something that's, I feel like maybe it needs to have a real-time element. But really, I mean, my favorite designer is Tim Fowers. I love the way that he puts theme in things, but also keeps it quite simple and still a really interesting game. So Burgle Brothers is a great example of that. And so I'd love to see what he would do with a sort of hospital doctor type thing. So that would be my two answers to that. Okay, so it doesn't seem like anyone's online, so I'm going to push this live to, I'm going to make this video public. I hope that's okay. So this is going beyond the Patreon backers. Let's see this. Okay, publish. Right, and then I'm just going to check the video. And then hopefully YouTube is going to tell people now that I'm live, and I'm going to be absolutely swarmed with people. Too many questions to possibly answer. Hello. Right, I'm just going to tweet about this. Okay, so I've put it like public now, so that everyone should be able to see it. So hopefully, if anybody comes in and they've got any questions about Essen or about anything, then I'm here to chat about stuff. If you want to tell me about some games that are good, I'm listening. Just gonna post it on Facebook. Hey, Alan, hi. We've got someone. So I think my experiment with trying to make this a Patreon-only video has slightly failed. I don't know whether people couldn't see the link, or maybe it was just a case of nobody was around. And so maybe I should have planned it more in advance, or I don't know. But now it's public, so I'm I'm ready to answer any questions anyone has about Essen or anything really. Just like previous Q&As. Five people, we're climbing. Okay, well, I'm going to just chat about some games then. So I'm going to chat about some games that I didn't get to pick up, or ones that I tried out. Let me just find my list. Okay, so these are some of the games that I demoed. Right, so one of them was in my top 20. It was called Decrypto. And this is a party game where you're on teams, and I thought I was going to really like it. I did really like it. It's not coming out until next year, I think early next year. And you're playing on teams, and you have these 4 words that stay the same throughout the entire game, and they are assigned numbers, and then you're given a code card with a number on, and you have to get that number across to your teammates by saying 4 words that link to the ones that you have. You don't want to give them away too much, and because the other team are listening in, they're trying to guess your code, and if they guess it twice in the game, they win. So they're trying to understand the words and the connections between the words, and it's a really simple party game idea, but it just works really well. I could imagine it being really, really big because it's got the simplicity of Codenames or whatever. It's got a real nice look to it as well. I don't know what makes something like Codenames go huge, and whether this could do the same, but it's simple rules, and I think, you know, you potentially enjoy it even more. But it's very different, but there are similarities. So there was a game called Welcome to Your Perfect Home. This is another one that's coming out next year, and this is from Blue Cocker Games. And I really like this one because it's similar to the roll and write games, where you have a bit of paper and you're crossing things off, or you're collecting stuff. But it's also got similarities to Avenue, which instead of using dice, which is what roll and write tend to do, it uses a deck of cards. So and I really like the theme of this one, where you're building a neighborhood. So you're getting numbers on these cards, and you're putting them into different houses. And so there's you have to go in numerical order from left to right, which is similar to Quicks or Quinto. But there's a bunch of different ways to get points, and there's different kind of set collection and scoring mechanisms. And there's just a lot of decisions into quite a short and simple game. And I like that it uses a deck of cards. You're not relying on dice. So that was really cool. So definitely, I don't know if that's going to be out in Essen next year. It also had some really nice artwork, so I'd recommend checking that one out. In or Out was a party game from R&R Games, and this is kind of like a trivia game. And I was close to picking this one up, but basically you have a category, and it's stuff that nobody would really know about. It's sort of obscure trivia. So if the one that we did was games that you play with a ball, and then you've got 12 cards, and they all have different games on them or names of games, but you don't know whether they have a ball or they don't, because they're sort of obscure. Some of them not even sports that are still played really. And so it's largely guessing. You might know a few of them, but what you're doing each turn is you're picking a card and you're just deciding in or out. Is it a game that is played with the ball? Is it not a game that's played with the ball? And so I like it. It's another kind of fix on a trivia game, because I think it's easy for everyone to play. It largely relies on guessing. So it's great, like Wits and Wagers and Terror or Fauna, those games. The only issue with it is that it is limited in its scope, because it comes with a lot of cards, I believe, but there's going to be a longevity to it. Now, I think they talk about releasing expansions, but once you've used 12 cards, that's it. You can't use them again unless you completely forget, maybe if you played it like 5-10 years later. So that's a little bit of a downside, and possibly the reason I didn't pick that one up. But I think it's a cool twist on trivia games. Another one that I tried is Ponkotsu Factory. And this was a little Japanese game. It was a word game. Had a really nice aesthetic to it. And you are you've got a bunch of letter tiles, very few vowels, and then a bunch of consonants. And you have to form 3 4-letter words behind your shield, so secretly from everyone else. And I think I don't know if there's a speed element to that bit, but you form 3 4-letter words, remember what they are, and then you shuffle up your tiles and pass them to the next player. And so everyone's then got tiles from other people, and you're then racing to create words from those tiles. Doesn't have to be the same ones. You want to get it done as quickly as possible. But if it is, then you score points if you manage to guess the words that they created. So it had a really interesting challenge to just trying to recreate and sometimes if you create a really obscure 4-letter word, like links or something, then that's really hard for the next person to then, because then they've got a Y and an X and an L that they've got no idea how to cram it into 3 4-letter words, because they can't think that, they're not immediately seeing links. So yeah, that was a fun game, yeah, I like that one. That's Ponkotsu Factory. If anyone here's got any questions, feel free to ask them. That's what I'm here for, but I'm going to keep talking about the games that I demoed. So Shuttles is a game from Zoc, and Zoc have a habit of making sort of interesting, quirky games. And this one is like that, really. This is the reason I was interested in it, because it's sort of a dexterity game, but it's got other stuff around it. It's just a slightly odd dexterity game, because in it you have a plastic cup, and you put in the plastic cup 15 wooden pawns, and then can people hear me? You're saying I'm sorry, what? Can you hear the things I'm saying? Okay, you have to let me know, is the sound all right? Or maybe I said something funny. But yeah, so I'm just going to check the sound myself, in fact. Okay, seems to work. Oh, sorry, the name. No, the name of the game is Shuttles. Yeah, it's SCHUTTELS. So yeah, maybe that's an odd one to release in English. But yeah, so in this game, you're pouring out, you've got this plastic cup full of plastic pawns, and you have to pour them out onto the table in one swift motion, but you're trying to pour out a certain number. So you'll be aiming. It always needs to be more than 3 and less than 15. So if you pour them all out, that's useless. And if you pour hardly any out, that's useless as well. You're trying to get a certain number. So there's this weird dexterity element to sort of tipping your hand in one swift motion, the right amount and strength to get the right number out. And it's just a weird idea. But then the reason you're doing that is to then place your tokens onto the board to try and get money. And there's an area control element where people push you along, and if you get the same number again, you can cash out of that location. So there's a big board with, it's like a village or something. You're trying to make money from different things, and there's a bunch of different rules that make it a bit more interesting. But it really just comes down to that dexterity element. I found it quite hard, and apparently you can get better at it. So I think it's an interesting one, but it's also like a big box, and I felt like it was too big a box for that level of game. And so I would play it again. I didn't really get a chance to play it properly with a big group or anything. I just tried it. I would play it, but I didn't pick that one up. Blether is a party game that I tried that that isn't coming out, I think, for a long while. And this is a game where you just have to talk nonstop. Blether apparently is a Scottish word for just talking constantly. And so the game gives you a topic that you have to talk about. And then I don't know if there's a timer, maybe like a minute. And then you've just got a huge deck of cards with 2 words on each card. And then just it could be any old word, nothing especially fancy. And so I was talking about crosswords, and I was just, you constantly going through this deck, having to incorporate the words that are on these cards. And it's really clever because it takes your story or whatever you're saying off onto interesting paths, and it's just a really funny party game. And I absolutely can't wait to sort of be able to get this one properly and play it loads, because it's exactly my kind of game. It doesn't really require that much creativity. Would be great for drinking and just hanging out with your friends. And I kind of think that anyone could be good at it. It's not quite as demanding as something like Snake Oil or Fun Employed. So yeah, I like that one. And yeah, so yeah, that's Blether, by the way. Little Big Fish was a abstract game with these cute plastic fish. And it's just a grid, really. And you're trying, it's a 2-player game, and you're trying to eat the other player's fish, but you can only eat fish that are your size or smaller. And then there are 3 different sizes of fish, and there are ways to grow your fish. And there's a bunch of movement rules, and there's a few other things to it. It had a cute look to it and quite a small box and things. And I was tempted, but I didn't really play it fully. I just had a short understanding of it. And it's certainly the way it looks is kind of like it's going for that family/kid thing. But then is it also an abstract game? I wasn't really sure what market it's going for. It doesn't have that kind of classy look of Onitama or Santorini, maybe. So yeah, that was, I didn't go for that one. That was Little Big Fish. Whoosh is a speed reaction game from Artipia Games. So if you imagine Ghost Blitz or Jungle Speed, those types of ones where you're watching things unravel, and then you've got to pick the right time to pounce. So in this one, you're in a circle, everyone's got a deck of cards that they don't know what's in their hand, and you're playing cards out. In the middle, there are 3 monsters that can be killed, and they need certain symbols to kill them. And so everyone's playing different weapons, and once there are enough weapons to kill a certain monster, you have to slam your hand on the monster. Of course, what I ended up doing was slamming my hand too fast, and then I get punished, because if you don't have all the weapons that you need, then obviously you can't kill the monster. And so everyone's sort of carefully watching and trying to keep track of everything that's there. And I thought it worked really nicely. It's just there's a lot of games like that, and I wasn't sure that it massively kind of beat out the ones that I already have. So but if you like those kind of games, obviously great with kids and family stuff, and also as a drinking game, then you might want to check out Whoosh. We've got 16 people now, so if anybody has any questions, that's what I'm here for. But if not, I'm just going to keep talking about random games that I demoed that I didn't pick up. So these aren't any of the games in my haul, which will be coming later. Hello, Alejandro. So, right, carrying on. We got My Dungeon Boss, Never Lie. And this was from the... this was at the Taiwan board game design booth, and they're like a collection of publishers, and they had a lot of interesting and exciting sounding games. And this one is a bluffing game, and I really like the theme of it. It's basically like you've got this horrible boss and you work too many hours and you're trying to, I don't know if you're trying to kill them but you're trying to get rid of them somehow. And you are playing cards. You're working together to kill the boss slightly. And then you are, but you're playing cards face down, and you could be bluffing about what you're playing. Other people can call you out on it. So it felt a little bit like cockroach poker. But what you're doing is you're building up these points. So at some point, you will say, I'm going to attack the boss now. And the other players will decide whether they think you'll be successful or not. So they know what cards they've played face down and things like that. And if you succeed, then you get a bunch of points. And so I like the idea of betting on other people, whether they're going to win. And so it has a bit of a feel, actually, now I think of it, of Welcome to the Dungeon, because it's all about sort of knowing what they face when they try to commit. But it's got that chicken style thing of, when do I go for it? When is the right time? And you might leave it too late and someone else gets all the points. So that was cool. I was sort of on the fence with that one. Again, I was tempted. So the next one is Pile Up Rush. And this was a cool dexterity game that I played on the Sunday. And it's got like a wooden disc base and a bunch of wooden pieces that you would imagine in a dexterity stacking game, sort of think junk art, those types of things. And I think primarily it's a 2-player game, but you could play with 2 teams. And you're playing with a sand timer, great. And you are stacking the stuff onto the wooden base, and you're taking it in turns. So you're kind of using the sand timer like a chess clock or whatever, because you can put as many pieces on as you can before the timer runs out. If the timer runs out, you lose. If things fall off on your turn, you lose, and the other player gets some points, and you play like a few rounds, and it's the first to 4 points. So it's an interesting thing of, if you get rid of all your pieces, you can race to do that, you win the game. But of course, by doing that, you may knock everything over because you're being overzealous. And you can also be trying to put pieces on to really screw over your opponent. And it has an interesting balancing mechanism where when you take points, you take your opponent's pieces. So it becomes easier for them to win the next round and things like that. So yeah, I really like that. It was just very simple. So that's Pile Up Rush. Okay, I got a question. What recommendation for a 2-player game from Essen? That is a good question. And I would say, which is a bit lame, that I haven't played, most of the games that I picked up at Essen so far. So not ideal. I'm just going to quickly check my list. I know that people were very excited about Shadows in Kyoto, and that is one that I picked up, but I just haven't played it yet. Fog of Love, also haven't played, but it seems like it's perfect to be a 2-player game. I mean, that's what it is. But it's quite long, I guess. It's quite involved. I really enjoyed Favelas, which is a tile-laying game. It's actually designed by Chris Bryan from Board with Life. And that's very simple. It plays 2 to 4, but I think it works well with 2. And I actually played it with 2. It's got a really nice look to it. And you're playing these tiles, and the values of the different colored tiles change. Well, you can change the values. It feels a tiny bit like Biblios, where you've got these dice that change the value of them. So I like that one. I mean, I haven't played it loads, but I think that one could be good for 2 players. And then I'm just having a look through my list. None of the others I can really vouch for at the moment. I would imagine Photosynthesis based on the hype, but can't promise anything because I haven't played it. Yeah, so that's it. To be fair, I didn't. There weren't loads of 2-player games that I was excited by at Essen this year. Just because I don't know. I went through the entire list and none of them really grabbed me. And usually I would be looking out for 2-player games. I mean, sometimes maybe I wait and I will wait for the dust to settle, because often, for example, like last year, Hanamakoji, it's just a small box card game. How was I to know that it was going to be really, really popular? And so I would imagine that the big 2-player games, or at least the kind of cult hits, they haven't appeared yet, as it were. Okay, any games you didn't get a chance to play at Essen that you regret? This year's Essen was massive. Yeah, it was massive. And yeah, definitely there were ones that I regret not playing. I mean, I had a list of easily 100 games that I wanted to try or at least give a look at. And I can't imagine I even did half of those. But as the time goes on, you sort of whittle down the list in your head, and you start to kind of rethink your priorities, because you just know you're not going to have time for everything. I think there's one game that I didn't play and didn't pick up from my top 20 anticipated games. So that, I guess, is the top one, and that's Cutthroat Kingdoms. It's a long game, so I didn't feel like I would get a full feel for it. And their booth was just it was in Hall 3, and it was just busy all the time. So that is probably the primary one. But there's definitely other ones. I really wanted to try Who Should You Eat, or Who Should We Eat, which was from WizKids, and they were demoing it. It was always quite busy, and then it sold out, and then they stopped demoing it because they had limited space. And so I couldn't then go back and try it later, because I would have liked to try it to then know whether I want to buy it later on, but back at home. So yeah, I would say those are the two that I really want to try. Oh, okay. So Carolyn is saying that photosynthesis may be not so good with 2-player. That's a shame. Okay. Well, it's interesting, because I was mostly interested in it for that that's when I play abstract games generally. But that's cool. I guess I'll see. What was your favorite moment from Essen this year? Well, I mean, that has to be the meetup that we did. It was just, I mean, sorry for anyone that didn't get tickets or whatever. It was just a lot of fun. It was so great to get to chat to people and meet people that I've maybe seen comments from online, and just getting to learn about the games that people love, and meeting people from so many different countries. I feel like there was sort of at least 10 different countries represented in this meetup of like 80 people. And I think probably more than that. And so, yeah, that was just the best bit, because I play games to socialize, and that was the best social event. But I also had I mean, not to ramble on about the social side of things, but I also had great fun. I think on the night before, I was hanging out with these Danish designers, Daniel and Asger, who design 13 Days and Tale of Pirates, and also Jacob, who designs Fog of Love. And there was just a bunch of people in that night who was also hanging out with Efka and John and Elaine and things. And it's just a lot of like great conversation. In the hall itself, it's got to be a good demo, right? I mean, I had fun playing Favelas because that was a good group, and I got to meet Chris, and that was a good game. So that was a highlight. And I briefly played MS Battery, the kind of Cluedo type game with the 3D boat, and I really liked that. We played it for sort of 20 minutes, but it just got me really excited, because generally the games that I had on my list, I wasn't really demoing them so much. I was just kind of grabbing them and demoing other stuff that I was less sure about. But with that one, I decided to just take the time, and I already knew I was going to get it, but I sat down and played it. I think I was tired, to be honest. And it was great fun. And it's nice when something you're excited about turns out to be that you like it. So that was really cool. There's probably some other ones, other times in the hall. I mean, generally it's kind of a mess. I mean, getting to bump into people, like getting selfies with people and handing out the badges, and that's always great. And there's probably some ones I'm forgetting right now, but yeah, those were some of the highlights at least. Hi, Iko. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we'll probably do a meetup again next year, although try and find a bigger venue, or we have to change something because it feels like a shame to have like a wait list and things. But yeah, there'll be a meetup of some kind. What was the flat out silliest, daftest game you came across at Essen? Good question. If you mean silliest as in fun silly, then Sticky Chameleons has got to be up there, where you've got the sticky, those kids' toys that are like a sticky hand, and then there's a bunch of tiles laid out, and you're trying to catch. It's like a tongue of a chameleon, and you're trying to catch the insects. And I really enjoyed that game. That's up there in terms of silly, as in like that it's terrible. I can't really remember if I played anything that was just like, I mean, I also am not sure I would want to say it publicly, and like upset anyone. Yeah, I don't think I played anything that was like really daft or just like weird. So I think I'll just go with Sticky Chameleons on that. I'm just checking my list. I guess maybe it wouldn't have been on my list, but I generally didn't veer too far from my list. I was very strict with myself. What about hidden gems that you think no one is talking about? That's a tricky one because I haven't played most of the games that I picked up yet. So, but some of the ones that I could talk about quickly now that I feel like are kind of hidden gems. There's a game called ARG, which stands for Animals Revolt Against Humanity. And this was just a little card game, and it's a bluffing game. It felt like cockroach poker, but with more of a game around it, where you're, instead of trying to just not lose, like in cockroach poker, you're trying to win. And yeah, I think that one is definitely not, I haven't heard anyone talk about that. Cafe Fatale, there's been a bit of buzz, but I think that's a nice dice game. I got to try both of these games, by the way, and that one, as I predicted, has kind of a Las Vegas feel. So yeah, I like that one. I think Divinity Derby hasn't had loads of hype. It's quite a sort of big box, quite impressive. It's got miniatures and stuff. This is a racing game with a betting aspect, and you're sharing a hand of cards with the neighbor to your left and right. And I played it the other night and really enjoyed it. So I think that one deserves more hype. Favelas, that I already talked about, is a cool tile placement game. It's really simple, but it's got real thinkiness to it. Feelinks, which is the game where you're discussing how you would feel about certain things. You're trying to guess the other players. It's like a party game. I think that one could be a bit of a hidden gem. Even MS Battery. I mean, I've tried to keep up with what other people are covering and stuff. I feel like it's very much a family game, but I think it could be a really good one. I think it could be modern day Cluedo, and I really like what I played of it. So that one, it's hard to know what's hyped and what's not. I think Muse has had quite a lot of hype, so but it certainly deserves it. And Scribble Time was a little drawing party game that I liked. So yeah, those are some of the hidden gems. Those are some of the ones I've actually tried or have a good idea of, whereas other ones I haven't played yet, and maybe they were. I felt like maybe there wasn't, like last year, it was so exciting to kind of come across When I Dream and just be blown away by it. I'm not sure that's going to happen the same way this year, but that's kind of almost like you can't expect there to be kind of a mind-blowing game every year, right? Or at least one that is kind of a hidden gem from a small company. So yeah, those are the hidden gems. What do you think about the polar bears heat and data and temperature game? I haven't played it, unfortunately. I had a quick look at the rules, although I was being lazy and I didn't really. It looks like it's going to be simple rules wise. I guess co-op games are hard to pull off. And can it have that tension of pandemic, or can it feel like it's always close to failing, but you just do it in the nick of time and that kind of thing? And I don't know. I already took some photos of it just because it looks nice, but I haven't actually played it yet. So I have to let you know on that one. Thanks to Michael, who just came in just to thumb it up. Great, thanks. Kitchen Rush on maybe on the hidden gem. I don't think Kitchen Rush is really a hidden gem. I think that was getting a fair amount of hype, but yeah, definitely love that one. If you haven't heard of it, it's a real-time cooperative game about running a restaurant, and I really enjoy it, and I'll be talking about it again soon. Yeah, Divinity Derby was hot on Kickstarter. Yeah, you're probably right. So maybe less of a hidden gem. I guess it's got to be like really hidden, and perhaps I didn't go to that many tiny stands. There were one or two that are on my list that I was like, ooh, that's an interesting theme. I'll go and check that out. And some of them were bad, and some of them were okay, and some of them I didn't have a chance to visit, sadly. So there's always that fear that there was a hidden gem out there, and I just didn't get to try it, and it's still hidden. Because last year, When I Dream was hidden, but I'd heard about it before the convention. And then Tifatashen was another one that was really hidden, very small booth last year. Really liked it when I demoed it, and now Tom Vassel's raving about it, and it's going to be picked up by like a big US publisher, and I'm really excited for them. But I could have so easily just skipped that one by last year, and so there's so much FOMO about all the ones that I could have played and didn't. And who's to say that there isn't this year's Tifatashen out there, and I just didn't get to the booth? But you can't try everything. Did you get Pandemic Legacy Season 2? No, I didn't. And basically because I haven't finished Season 1, so I'm not really in any rush. I don't need another box to clutter up my flat. So I'll just hold fire on that for a bit. But yeah, I need to get Season 2 finished. Hi, John. When can we expect your next top 10 video? Soon-ish. I've got one almost ready, but it's been ambitious in terms of writing it. There's a lot to it, and there's a few more bits that need to slot in before it's ready to be filmed, but it's sort of 80% ready to go. So I'm in a better position than perhaps would usually be with the top 10. So there's one on the way, but yeah, it's not going to be like this week or anything. I'm going to be doing the Essen Hall thing, and like I said, there's still some bits, and because it's been so ambitious, it's just been probably the longest video I've ever made to take. It might not look like that when you watch it. So yeah, so it's taken a while. Oh, okay. So Aiko only heard about Kitchen Rush after I told him about it. Okay, that's, well, clearly you didn't watch my top 20 anticipated games. But yeah, so that's a shame. I'm sure it will get buzz. I'm sure people are gonna like it, and it's gonna start to spread. It's that kind of game. I feel like it's got a good theme, good artwork, and I feel like reviewers are gonna review it positively, and it's gonna go do well. Yeah, I remember running into the guy from Geek Factor. Where was I most of the time? Any particular area that grabbed you for longer than others? Not really. I was running all over the place. I went to all the halls multiple times. There was no real system, although sometimes it was just, let's get out of hall 3 because it's way too busy. Sorry, I'm just going to move this down a bit. And yeah, so yeah, I didn't stay in one spot for any length of time. Maybe occasionally I would demo a game for sort of 20 minutes, but generally not. And yeah, so yeah, it was frantic, and I feel like I missed stuff as well. Like I was talking today to some people about the Board Game Geek thing and how they sell promos, and I just didn't even go by, and I would have loved to have get some promos and not have to pay the crazy shipping prices. And because it wasn't on my list, I didn't go, and because I didn't even finish my list. And I was in the hall pretty much non-stop I went in on Wednesday, but all of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with you know, a couple of hours missed here and there, and I still didn't get half of what I've done. But I would have loved to have just wandered and explored. And so next year, definitely the goal is to be more selective with the list. But I said that last year and I didn't stick to it, so whatever. Was there something from Sweden in Essen? I'm looking for Swedish games. I think so. I was told, so I actually shared a taxi with a couple of Swedish guys that were staying in my hotel. And I was told that Jacob Frixelius, who designed Terraforming Mars, is Swedish. So that's kind of a Swedish game. And he had another one out about zombies, I think. And there is another famous, I think maybe someone was telling me Terra Mystica. I don't know. It's all about the Danish designers, I'm afraid. Did I play Pandemic Rising Tide? No, I didn't. I didn't even know that was there. Was it just being demoed? No. I mean, I kind of feel like with the bigger games, I'm not as excited to demo them because I feel like, you know, like for example, if Pandemic Rising Tide is demoing and it's going to come out like next year or whatever, I'll just play it next year. There's no way it's going to pass me by. I'm happy to wait for it. It doesn't. Sometimes I feel like if you demo a game and then you're like, oh my God, I need to own this, and then you've got to wait 6 months, then that kind of sucks. So yeah, I kind of leave the big ones to, there'll always be a chance to try it. When I Dream had too many people around the booth. What's it about? Yeah, that booth was rammed. So yeah, When I Dream was my favorite game from last year's Essen. It's a party game where on a round, one person has a blindfold on, everyone else is trying to get them to guess words. And they do that by saying a word each, taking in turns. But some people have hidden roles and they want the person to fail and not guess the words, but they don't want to give themselves away too much because otherwise they won't ever trust them again. So they're trying to get through as many words as possible and guessing them, and it has hidden roles, and it's just brilliant. If you like party games, you should absolutely try it. I love it. But yeah, it was I'm so pleased for the designer, Chris, and I love that it's gone from this tiny game last year to this huge game this year. And yeah, I'm just excited that more people are playing it, and that maybe that might mean more cards or expansions one day or whatever. But even more so, just maybe more games from the same designer, because I just really like what he did with it. So yeah, When I Dream is just a great party game. They had the alternate box art posters too. Beautiful but bloody expensive. Oh, what? For When I Dream? I didn't know there was alternate box art posters. Okay, I missed out on that. Well, I didn't. Oh man, that would have been great. I didn't see those at all. I wasn't paying attention clearly. I do feel like the box art. Yeah. The BGG, yeah. They got commissioned like fancy, kind of intriguing art for famous games. So yeah, that would have been cool to own one of them. But yeah, if they're really expensive. Yeah, When I Dream also keeps up a recent trend of party games with dazzling art. Yeah, Muse has got really nice art, and yeah, When I Dream. That's all I got. Okay, any other questions? If not, I'm going to keep chatting about some other games that I tried out. So Wartime, I didn't actually get. I very briefly demoed this. Is a 2-player war game where you are playing with sand timers. You're playing also against like a big clock, but then all your pieces are controlled by sand timers. And so you're using the sand timers to move and attack and things. And so I love the idea of it just kind of meaning there's no downtime, that you can't spend for ages on a move, because I feel like a war should be pacey. And I wonder whether it works in practice, but I think it's a really cool idea that everything, you can't do anything without a sand timer. So you have to be quick. If you waste time thinking about stuff, then you'll probably lose, but maybe being a bit strategic is going to be helpful in some respects. Did I get the Magic Maze expansion? Yes, I did. I haven't tried it yet, but again, that's one of those ones where it's like, well, of course I'm going to get the Magic Maze expansion. I love Magic Maze, but I don't need to try it because I'll try things that I'm less sure about. I'm 100% sure that I'm going to like that. I mean, maybe not 100%, but I'm sure anything extra for Magic Maze is going to be good. A new and original theme for Magic Maze? I don't know what you mean there. I would love for them to retheme Magic Maze, and also Clank. Oh, there's so many games I would love a better theme for, but I guess once you're stuck, and it's so funny that I got an inkling that Clank was going to be reprinted in a different style, and I was so desperate to be an exciting theme, and then it's just space, and it's just like literally the laziest thing they could do. But the game still sounds fun, and I still want to try it, but it's still like it could have been anything. It could have been so many cool things, and it's just space. Okay, so there was a company that called Helvetic, and they're Swiss, and they had some really interesting like they had lots of small boxes, and they had really nice artwork and graphic design. They seemed inspired by Oink Games with that really sort of minimalist aesthetic and just really classy kind of like fashionable board games. And I tried a bunch of their games. A lot of them were sort of family kids weight games, card games. And so, yeah, I felt like that was a shame. But there was one or two that I picked up that I'm going to talk about in the haul. But I just really like the style that we're going for. And I just hope that some more interesting designers take some interesting designs to that company, because, yeah, I just love what they were doing with those boxes. Cluedo and Hero Quest are my favorite childhood games. What are yours? I don't know. If we're talking about the ones I used to play as a kid, it's hard for me to remember the ones I liked. I think I used to play Risk a lot, and I guess I liked it at the time. I wouldn't say I like it now. And yeah, I played Cluedo and Monopoly a bit. I don't remember like loving Monopoly. We had a game called Hotels, which I think I was really impressed by because it had sort of these big plastic hotels, but I don't remember it being that good. I think I like Game of Life because I like the theme of it. All I'm really remembering are the games that I had. I don't remember which ones I like more than others massively. So probably, yeah, just Risk. I remember playing that with friends and kind of getting into it. So, but I also remember it taking forever. You should tilt your camera down a bit. I thought I did. I'm doing it again. I just found a copy of Hotel today. No way. Did you buy it? I don't think it's good enough to buy, but I don't know enough about it. I think it's got similarities to Monopoly, but maybe slightly less bad. Any other questions? Okay, didn't buy it. Good stuff. Oh, so another one that I got to try was Mini City, and this was another Taiwan board game, and this has got these tiny hexagonal tiles, and you're building where it's kind of like a park more so. It's got roads and trees, and it's got a nice look to it, and it's got these different pieces, and they have different ways to score points. So there's a bird and a man and a kid, and the kid wants play parks, and the man wants benches, and the bird wants forests. And it had some interesting scoring ideas. And the idea was that you're building up this thing, but only at a certain point on your turn do you take one of those scoring opportunities. And so you don't jump in too quickly, because then people will make sure that they don't help you. So you try and build up everything quite well, and then you grab one at the right time So I quite like that as an idea. It seemed like quite thinky for what's a very small box game. It had a really nice look to it. So I was close to picking this one up, but I'm still tempted by it. But I was like exhausted. I think it might have been the Sunday, and I was just a bit done with trying to understand games, and you just sort of lose the power of decision making a little bit. I picked up Merlin at Essen. However, the dice were missing. Did you get a copy yourself? And if so, were the dice in your box? I'm afraid I didn't get Merlin, so I can't help you there, but that really sucks. I guess these things happen occasionally, but you kind of would hope that they don't. Yeah, that's not cool. Because I've had it before where they've noticed problems, and then often, so last year at Essen, I think there were 2 games that I was given sort of packs of cards to go with because they'd reprinted the cards and they hadn't put them in the boxes. And that's like, obviously that's fine. But if they didn't notice themselves, if that was a common thing, then yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, did I get any of the Taiwanese games? Yes, but you're going to have to wait for the haul to find out which ones. But yeah, I think like 3 maybe. Yeah, and I was interested in more. I didn't get a chance to try all of them. The booth was pretty busy, and it's just another case of being so many things to try. Okay, Carolyn's got to run. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night there. It's been an hour. Thanks for all the questions. I'm sorry that it started off a bit slow. Yeah, I think I'm going to plan a proper Q&A at some point with a bit more warning, and hopefully see a few more of you then and for more questions. But otherwise, yeah, look out for my haul video. It's going to be coming soon. Probably next week now, but like early next week. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.